Perceived rudeness has brought co-host Savannah Guthrie under fire today. This comes after a significant interview with a musician, celebrity Janet Jackson. Last Friday, Jackson stopped by the morning show for a special occasion. The news had just been leaked to Carson Daly's coworkers one day before Janet's live performance and the launch of her new Together Again tour. Savannah Carson was interviewed by the legendary vocalist Melvin Craig of Hodak Copy and Chanel Jones. Her presence appeared to stun the entire panel. Some viewers felt Savannah was being disrespectful to the superstar, so they swiftly voiced their disapproval. Stay tuned for additional details and to witness how the fans have responded. In that case, what precisely was Savannah Guthrie up to? Throughout the conversation, Savannah Guthrie and her co-host sat on stools while Janet Jackson stood alone. Why the music icon wasn't given a chair was a mystery to his fans. Miss Jackson was the only description the Today presenter used while posting behind-the-scenes photos from the celebrity-studded morning to Instagram. But her devotees were preoccupied with other matters. Regarding the uncomfortable interview, they were forthright in expressing their concerns. Everybody should have sat down with Miss Jackson, the viewers agreed. An excerpt from the many comments follows. Your failure to give her a seat is regrettable. She seemed to be searching behind her to see if anyone was pulling one out. Quite strange to get her to stand. For how long has she been standing? Some people were really concerned by that, according to another writer, while a third person only wanted to know, why didn't you give her a seat? There is no available seat. It seemed like the most uncomfortable interview ever. While the rest of you sat, she stood. How utterly broken. Not even a chair was extended to her. Lately, they've been living it up. Something was obviously off with the interview arrangement because viewers noticed it. Some think Savannah is to blame since she is a rude host. Some viewers saw that Chanel Jones cut in during the segment, as if she was trying to get some alone time with Janet on air. Maybe Savannah Guthrie and her co-host were just too busy to think to give Janet a seat. Not only did Savannah Guthrie face criticism for her actions, but so did others. When Chanel admitted to being a huge fan, it put the spotlight on the celebrity. Rhythm Nation attire and all. She even performed with backup dancers as Janet for the 2019 Today Show Halloween special. Chanel appeared hell-bent on telling Janet how much of an impact she had on her life. Janet politely extended an invitation to the TV host to accompany her on tour as a reaction. How do you feel about the criticism of Savannah Guthrie for her rude behavior? Leave a comment below to share your opinions. This new synopsis you just read depicts an all-too-common occurrence in today's digital world. A small lapse in decorum while live television that spreads like wildfire on social media. The purpose of the celebration interview with the music legend Janet Jackson on the Today Show was to promote her Together Again tour. The dangers of live production, the intricacies of host-guest dynamics, and the unspoken but strictly enforced standards of reverence for an icon have instead turned it into a case study. It was more than just an oversight that caused the backlash that targeted Savannah Guthrie, who was the show's principal anchor. It was an instinctive response to an image that seemed terribly off. Investigating the complex interplay between the stools, the specific and respected status of Janet Jackson, and the world of television logistics can shed light on why this one moment caused such fury. A physical altercation, rather than a vocal one, was at the heart of the dispute. It was all about the set. With the segment unfolded, an unsettling sight was presented to the audience. 5 cheerful hosts, Chelsea Jones, Savannah Guthrie, Hall Copy, Carson Daly, and Craig Melvin, sit on plush, contemporary studio chairs. Janet Jackson stood before them, a solitary famous figure. It was clear that she wasn't prepared to perform. There was ordinarily a chair in the guest seat, but she was standing there instead. I wish you had given her a seat, as the fans said in the original story. Her prolonged standing begs the question, why? Ours was only the very beginning. An example of coordinated online fury, the whole social media firestorm was. There was a significant gulf. A panel stood there, at ease and staring up at their honored visitor. As one viewer pointed out, the guest, a 5-time Grammy winner and Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, was shifting her weight and even looking backwards as if to see if someone was pulling one out from behind her. There was an obvious and wrong-headed imbalance of status in this image. The importance of the visitor is crucial in the realm of television. Making sure they are comfortable is the host's top priority. This is particularly the case when the honoree is as famous as Janet Jackson. She has no interest in being a reality TV star or a budding artist. The presenters admitted as much when they called her Miss Jackson. Viewers saw the staff's decision not to offer her a seat as more than just an oversight. They saw it as a serious display of contempt. It appeared malfunctioning, according to one commenter. For many, it was like having a member of royalty visit your house and then making her stand in the middle of the room while everyone else sat on the couch. The visuals couldn't be justified. The public's perception is based on millisecond-long visual evaluations. Hence the decision was also immediate. That was impolite. Host Savannah Guthrie and the others probably didn't set out to be rude to Janet Jackson on purpose. Their genuine wonder and devotion shone through. Now, let's talk about the facts. There are a number of logistical hypotheses that shed light on what was probably a huge production misstep, even if the Today Show has not officially explained the staging. The original study hinted at this most generous theory. The presenters were just too starky. With all the intensity of a live broadcast and Janet Jackson's arrival, the most fundamental aspect of hospitality, a chair, was completely overlooked. This shifting of blame is prevalent in the field of psychology. How can we determine which of 5 hosts is actually hosting? Everyone might have thought that someone else, such as stagehand, the producers, or another co-host, had taken care of the seating chart. From a logistical standpoint, this makes the most sense. The layout of Studio 1A is intricate. In a panel consisting of 5 hosts and 1 special guest, such a congested shot. Before going on to a performance or another area of the studio, the segment might have been meant to be a quick stand-up conversation. The producers likely aimed to avoid visual clutter by not including a 6th chair, particularly if it did not match the host stools. Since it was only a brief conversation, it was probably decided that having her stand would add more energy. The most crucial factor, the guest's comfort, is obviously not taken into consideration in this. It's a disastrous gamble on emphasizing the shot's aesthetic over the interaction's emotional resonance. A guest may opt to stand if they are feeling particularly confident, or if they are wearing a very delicate garment. The fan accounts, however, appear to disprove this theory. It appears like Janet was expecting a seat and was briefly perplexed when she turned behind herself to check if one had been given to her. Guthrie, being a professional host, would normally have acknowledged her standing choice by saying something along the lines of, "I'd offer you a seat, but I know you preferred to standard." Everyone seemed to have forgotten about the issue. In the end, Seatgate was a disastrous unintentional mistake. Production went wrong, basic hospitality fell short, and the visual power dynamics were misunderstood. Although Savannah Guthrie was singled out, the issue was systematic. Chanel Jones, Guthrie's coworker, was under fire for being kind and welcoming, while Guthrie was accused of being cold and rude, showing too much familiarity and taking over the interview. According to the prompt, Chanel, who calls herself a super fan, dedicated some time in the interview to thanking Janet on a personal level. With great emotion, she described how, as a young Black girl, she felt Janet's visibility was important, and she talked about dressing up as Janet for Halloween. There was, on the one hand, a blatant breach of journalistic neutrality. The emphasis moved from the visitor's new tour to the host's subjective emotions. According to the prompt, some who were critical of the moment thought that Chanel was trying to steal the show and have her moment while it was live. It was viewed as wasteful, consuming precious time with an A-list celebrity.